The Unreleased Secrets of Vanilla WoW, Episode 4. Is that a Herod? Oh my
hey guys,
god.
what's up? Next season here, back with another video for you. Though Vanilla World of Warcraft was a huge game on its release in 2004, it was only a fraction of the size it was envisioned to be, and we've been on a streak of discussing features and areas.
Wait, was Presto originally... Wait, what? That's Nefarian?
Philosophies that ended up on the cutting room floor, and today here,
Bolvar, look at him.
The focus of this video will be on
oh god, not those.
Alpha 0.5.3 client, which was the very first version
Poodle,
of the game.
thank you so much, friend.
People outside of Blizzard
43.
I want to give a special thanks to Grinder and the Alpha Team Project for making this possible by using their mad coding skills, which you too may learn from the premier code teaching website, boot.dev.
They look so funny.
Boot.dev is a platform for anyone looking to master back-end development.
Oh wow.
And unlike my voice, it's built to make sure that you never get bored. Taking cues from game design to keep you engaged and pushing towards a career in back-end development. You'll find courses here that teach you back-end web development using Python and Go.
Wow.
Right from the basics.
I love back-end development.
Advanced concepts. The lessons are designed such that you're not just passively learning,
you're
actually coding, which is the best way to learn.
Hackerman!
Their mission is to make learning to code as engaging as possible. One of the reasons why I'm working with them is that their platform makes you feel like you're playing an RPG.
I know I'm pausing during ads, but I actually think that's a really good way of baiting people to be like productive in their lives, making people do stuff.
Which I'm sure will resonate with a lot of you.
It's like a carrot.
That you're most likely addicted to World of Warcraft. It has levels
gamification,
and achievements to unlock. And because it's self-paced, you can learn at your own speed. And if you hit a snag, don't worry. They have an AI to help. And they don't just give you the answers, but rather asking guided questions to help you understand concepts. They offer a 30-day, no questions asked refund policy and a free demo for every course.
It's cool enough.
So if it interests you, you can try it risk-free and see if it's the right fit for you. Click the
that's pretty cool, dude.
Link in the description and use my code to get 25% off your first payment, which is 25% off either your first month or your first year, depending on which plan you choose.
Cool enough.
Anyways.
You know you're able to skip the promotional content? Yeah, but I feel like it's kind of disrespectful to do if we're watching a video on the stream and like we're essentially watching his video, so he has a sponsor on his video, we'll watch it, right? It supports him and I feel like it's ethical to do.
First up, we have a feature. In Vanilla, anybody who's at all familiar with the Hunter class knows that the different pet species in the game hold different unique abilities.
Yeah.
The spiders can root people in place. The bird has an AoE threat
Chill
generator.
shield.
The wolf provides a melee attack power buff for party members. And beyond all of this, they also come with unique stats. And with the loyalty and training systems, they're arguably one of the most complex classes in Vanilla. Well, as it turns out, this system functioned very differently in the alpha. To train different species at first, you had to track down these specialized trainers spread throughout.
Dude, this seems like such... Oh, I'm going over here. This seems like such a pain.
That would give you the ability to tame them, as well as learn unique abilities, such as for the spider, you can get...
What teaches spider? The spider poison. Spider poison deals damage over time. So there's like a trainer for every single one.
Poison dot, the web, which you know, and a ranged poison spit. As for the tall striders, they were more supportive, putting a debuff that increases damage taken, or healing a friendly target, or increase...
Wait! They had heal? Allows a hunter to teach her tamed tall strider the healing tongue ability. Healing tongue heals friendly targets for a short range. What? Like a healer pet?
Or increasing regeneration rate in general.
Allowing a hunter to teach her tamed tall strider the Strider Presence. Strider Presence helps regenerate health and mana.
They were much more unique than what they eventually landed on.
Wait, teaches your raptor the Feast of Prey. Feast of Prey allows your raptor to recover health every time it kills an enemy.
How it worked was you learned the ability to train it from these trainers.
I've never seen this.
And similar to the beast training skill in 1.0, the hunter would teach it to the pet once they reached the appropriate level.
Wow.
Although at this point, there were no pet skill points that she had to allocate.
Yeah.
But that's not the only difference. The class saw many changes throughout its development.
The bucklers.
Some of you may know that along with rogues, they could actually use
I know
bucklers.
this.
In the alpha, there were 2 shield types, shields and bucklers, where the latter was a more lightweight version, having less armor and block, giving these 2 classes a more defensive feel.
Yeah.
Auto shot wasn't in, meaning that you had to manually shoot every single time, and the cast speed would match that of your ranged weapon. Many remember...
Dude, this would have made playing Hunter miserable, man. You had to click the shoot button every time. Imagine you're playing a Hunter, but you click the button like you do on Warrior and Rogue every time.
Focus as a cataclysm change, but it was indeed the first resource for Hunters in this alpha. It would build slowly over time, and your abilities would consume it.
I feel like focus kind of makes sense for Hunter. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it kind of does. I don't know. I mean, they didn't get that in vanilla, but it makes sense. Imagine casting your ability like a Shadow Bolt. Yeah, exactly.
And as for the abilities themselves, they're all quite different as well. Beast Call was a taunt that only worked on beasts, so maybe there was some sort of tanking capability planned for Hunters at some point.
Thank you for the prime.
As for Charm Beast, this would tame a beast for only 1 minute. Soothe Beast was a crowd control.
Wait, what?
True Shot wasn't an aura. It was an attack instead, costing 2 focus and adding some damage.
What?
And an additional 1 second cast time. Blinding Shot reduced your chance to hit. Fire Shot did some elemental fire damage. Quick Shot added 5 damage to a shot with a 1 minute cooldown. And Silencing Shot, which eventually turned up in Burning Crusade, silenced the target for an insane 8 seconds if you can actually...
Imagine an 8-second silence in vanilla, man. With no dead zone. Dude, I had no idea about this. What?
Actually believe that. Explosive Shot, which we saw in Wrath eventually, was in the alpha as well. This also did some AoE damage, and Sniper Shot added a whopping 5-second cast time to your weapon for some heavy damage. Similar to Aimed Shot. Running Shot could be cast on the move. The closest thing we eventually got was Aspect of the Fox and Cataclysm.
Wait, that's insane!
Steady Shot on the move. As for Frost Shot, this dealt some frost damage and also slowed your enemy. And Stalking was the early version of Hunter's Mark. Like with every class, there were no talents, as at this point it was the skill point system. So this, along with those pet abilities, was essentially their entire toolkit.
Yeah, I don't get the whole dead zone thing for class fantasy perspective. I don't know, I think it might more so be like a balancing issue because maybe the Hunters would just be too good if they could like shoot from up close, right? It would just make them too strong. So it might just be like a balancing thing.
There were no traps, there were no aspects. It was all quite bare bones, which makes sense because Hunters were the last class that was added to the game for vanilla. Next, doing an area. The Scarlet Monastery.
They didn't have dead zone in TBC. Yeah, but TBC and vanilla is not the same thing. And I don't... Wait, they do have a dead zone. Isn't it just smaller? I don't know. I didn't play Hunter in TBC. I think they have a dead zone, bro. It's just smaller. There is still dead zoning in TBC, but it's like a shorter range. I kind of like it. I think it adds like a cool thing for the Hunter. Like you can melee weave and shit like that. In D&D, there's a disadvantage to range attacks and melee range. Yeah, I think it makes sense personally.
It's one of the most memorable dungeons in vanilla.
Thank you.
It's split up into 4 wings: the graveyard, library, armory, and cathedral. And it's often the first thing that people think of when they think of vanilla dungeons. The bosses are memorable, the loot is really good, the XP is pretty decent, and the lore's interesting. But this was all the result of a lot of hard work and a huge makeover, as in the alpha, it was all one big dungeon, with just one entrance at the bottom of the stairs leading into the monastery, which is even blocked off by a couple of gates, which possibly indicates that there may have been plans for an attunement or a key required to gain entry.
Dude, this would be the longest dungeon in the world, though. Chainster, thank you for the prime. What's up, Himanu? This would be like such a long dungeon.
So the first difference you'll notice is that the entrance to the library and graveyard are missing, and the cathedral and armory paths are actually the same hallway. So right away, it's a very linear dungeon compared to the updated version. Turning the corner, we have the library. Over to the right is the Houndmaster and his hounds. But going through the next area, we find that it goes right instead of left. And right around the corner, we have the Wish.com version of Mad Season. Herod. Yeah, really. You do actually enter his room from the bottom floor here.
Dude, he got a big upgrade, though. The new Herod is badass.
Right after the Houndmaster, which is pretty wild. And you probably noticed that he had a wardrobe change. I guess this is before he flexed off all of his armor.
Yeah.
A little fun fact here is that this red-winged helmet that he's wearing was actually the original Lightbringer helmet model.
Oh,
And
Lightforge.
I remember this because my first 60 back in the day was a Paladin, and I thought it was so cool looking, but by the time I got it, they changed it to the McDonald's hat, which was...
Bro, what? What a downgrade. This looks so much cooler. Like, it just fit the color scheme, right? And it would do... Yeah, I mean, even with this color, it looks so much better.
pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving past him up the stairs that used to be the entrance to his room, the hallway leads left instead of right, and at the end of the hallway you can go left or right. Going
can't do
left
this troll
leads
movement.
to the graveyard. You may recognize this as Interrogator Vicious's room, who switched tables, and as you can see, the Undead Quest Giver is also missing. And following through here, we have another long hallway, and where you would normally expect that big courtyard with a lot of undead wandering about, eventually leading to the Blood Mage Thalnos inside his crypt, you'll instead find a copy of that little square in library that held the Houndmaster.
What?
So his house got quite the upsize in the new version.
Yeah.
But going back to the fork in the road and going right this time, we find the library, and where
Okay.
Thalnos had a smaller room, Doan doesn't even have a room at all. He's not in this version, and the next room is instead the final cathedral with more.
I really like the courtyard, man. Like, the courtyard to the cathedral is epic. I think I just really like dungeons with skyboxes. I don't know why, but it does something to my brain, the dopamine receptors. Like, whenever I can see a skybox in a dungeon, it makes it feel like kind of epic for some reason. I enjoy that a lot. Why is the troll twerking? I don't know, but they do have perfect deadlift, form. That is true.
Mulgren and Whitemane. The main difference being
The skybox?
is that
Yeah, the sky. Like, the skybox. It could be like a night sky or whatever the heck, right? Doesn't
there's
matter.
some benches added, along with various other little changes, such as Mulgren being gray-haired and Whitemane, who is hatless.
Okay, I will admit, she got an upgrade as well, okay? She, just like Herald did, Whitemane got an upgrade as well.
Gray-haired and Whitemane, who is hatless.
Suspect is hatless. Repeat,
Yeah.
hatless.
You can also find Inquisitor Fairbanks hanging out in his room.
Why are you so
although
jacked?
They haven't installed the secret bookshelf yet.
Oh, not that guy.
So in terms of square footage and mob density, it's much smaller than the 4-wing update that was
I've never seen that boss
eventually
before.
released.
Yeah,
I think
it's crazy.
the 4-wing version was a big improvement, so kudos to the developers for that.
Yep,
but it
agreed.
is interesting to see all of these bosses right next to each other. It's sort of like an alternate reality Scarlet Monastery. Next we have Death, Resurrection, and XP, which all worked a little bit differently in this alpha. In the final version, as you know, when you died, you lost 10% equipped durability.
Yeah, dude. It used to be punishing in the alpha, man.
You spawn in ghost form to the nearest spirit healer, where you had the option of either running back to your corpse or rezzing at the spirit healer for a 10-minute debuff and an additional 25% durability hit to all of your gear in your bags, not just your equipped items.
Yeah.
However, in the alpha, you would instead set your revive point to an NPC known as a binder, and
Okay.
if you ever died, no matter where you were, you would revive at this binder,
Oof.
as well as lose some experience. As you may know, one of the game's selling points was that it was much more casual friendly compared to other games in the genre at the time. So they would eventually
Yeah.
do away with this XP loss and replace it with the fatigue system, where the
Imagine, man, you would lose XP. And this is almost even worse. You could go from well rested, which is 200 XP, to rested, to normal, to fatigued, to exhausted. And it would literally reduce your XP you would gain.
more you adventured, the more
You would lose your
fatigued
house IRL, yeah.
character, reducing the amount of XP you gained. You could still rest by logging off in an inn or major city to recover it, which would eventually give you times 2 XP, and you had normal, which is times 1. But if you played too much, you would get fatigued, which would be half, and then exhausted was a quarter. This was
Imagine leveling with a third of the XP gain. Like a fourth. Bro, that would just be miserable.
all eventually done away with because it just discouraged playing too much, and it forced grinding as players would just simply run out of quests. Since this was before players
Yeah.
had widespread knowledge of the game and these advanced database websites, even without penalties, making it to 60 usually required some form of mob grinding
Yep.
or dungeon spam to some extent. So this was a little bit too punishing for what they were going for, and they eventually got rid of the penalties. But they did.
And just the rest then. Dark Age of Camelot, you'd lose XP every time you died. It was brutal at max level, same with Binding. Isn't it also like that in Black Desert, I believe? Like when you die, at least at the higher levels, you lose XP or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I remember hearing something about that too.
The ×2 rested bonus. And next, going over various locations and references that were removed. This is quite a popular
Diablo.
one. The first is the Statue of Liberty in Stranglethorn Vale on Jaguaro Island, which was the spot where you did that Donkey Kong reference quest for Princess Muba. You can also find the Statue of Liberty, clearly unfinished because I don't particularly remember it being hot pink, but this is a reference to the movie The Planet of the Apes. Spoiler
Which
alert,
one of them?
But the story goes that a group of astronauts go on a space mission, and after an accident, they crash land on this planet filled with intelligent, evolved apes who hunt down humans for sport and slavery.
Bro, what are those? Dude, old movies are kind of creepy, man.
And at the end, the protagonist, Taylor, finds the half-buried Statue of Liberty, revealing that they had traveled into the future to this post-apocalyptic
Old movies go
Earth
hard,
after
yeah.
the world's superpowers blew it up. It was one of the many commentaries on the Cold War. In the last one, we did...
Old Ironforge? I'm not going to beat it up, but if I die for high level tune and you lose a day or an hour or two worth of XP, if not more than counting traveling. Food and drink, most of the things you could easily have it to rest a couple of minutes. Having no food and drink in an MMO, like no way to like recover HP fast, seems so miserable, man.
a little tour of Alpha Ironforge, which was wildly different. So I figured we'd do the same with Stormwind here, which has some differences. Not as extreme, but there are some notable ones, such as first noticing that the lighting and the torches are a bit different.
They're white.
The bridge leading to the stockades is really steep for some reason, and there's now a...
No, there isn't a bridge like to stockades. It's just on the corner, right?
river that covers that spot between the trade district and the mage quarter, making it harder to navigate.
What? This seems so miserable.
You can't jump in the water in this version of the game, which makes sense if you think about it, but it's also pretty annoying as you have to swim all the way to the little pier to get back up. They eventually changed it because people were falling in water in certain spots of the game and were getting themselves stuck with no way out.
Yeah, exactly.
This was also before Hearthstones were added into the game, so they would either have a GM get them out or essentially abandon their character. In the park, there's a Tall Strider trainer for hunters, and in the Dwarven district, a Raptor trainer. This
is so crazy.
And the entrance to the Deep Run tram is blocked off, like I mentioned in the last video.
Yeah.
The auction house is missing, which was actually true for the 0.0 release as well. Initially, only Ironforge and Orgrimmar had auction houses, and they were later added to other cities, and they weren't even linked until a certain patch, meaning that the ones in Darnassus and Thunderbluff would be pretty barren of items most of the time. The bank in the trade district is much larger than the version we eventually got, and the portal in the Mage Tower is gone. I guess they needed to add a little more room for NPCs at some point.
Yeah.
And in the keep, you'll find that Onyxia, aka Lady Prestor,
so weird.
is replaced by Davil Prestor II.
Yes.
And Bolvar is cosplaying as Colonel Curzon from Stranglethorn. In Old Town, we see that
that was the
PvP hall
armor
is missing, with some rogue vendors who just kind of took up shop where it used to.
Wait, they have like I love it. It's like a little, what the heck is that called? Like a flea market? It looks like a flea market.
To be. And the SI7 building
I'm
isn't
not
even there yet, holding just this open courtyard with Matthias Shaw just hanging out. The same is true for the Warrior building. Right now it's just this open area with a few trainers here and there.
Dude, that
There's
looks so
a bunch of other
scuffed.
tiny minor differences here and there that you can probably spot if you have a keen eye. But I think that about wraps up this episode. There's plenty more to show you in this alpha, I assure you.
Dude, how is there still so much I haven't seen? Like, I'm a freaking nerd, man. I played WoW way too long, and there's still so much I haven't seen.
There's so many changes
like, it's
in
insane.
these areas and balance and everything, and it's all really interesting, so I will for sure be returning to this at a later point. Thanks for watching. Like the video.
Good video. I like this a lot. This was really cool.
Next one. Peace.
Man, those hunter spells were really interesting, man. Hunters could have been so different. Old Troll Walk is nightmare fuel. That's crazy.
Video.
I'll link it here.
See you again soon.
No, I know it's the alpha version, but dude, you gotta realize, man, I have watched an unhealthy amount of World of Warcraft content during my years, and played a very big amount as well myself. I've never played the alpha, to be fair, but I've watched a lot of videos, and there's still stuff that I haven't seen. And that is crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy.